In Overwatch 2, just wall off tank and focus tank is just not as good anymore. The wall is squishier. There's one fewer tank. Fights are more dynamic and spread out. So you have to be a lot more creative with how you use your wall, even if it's just wall off somebody's LOS for a few seconds or to wall yourself up on the high ground, like you were saying. So this kind of situation right here, obviously you were shooting far. She's low. It's tough, right? But you got to be quick. Hey guys, this is an in-depth MEI guide. We're going to talk about playstyle, positioning, ice block usage, obviously the ice wall itself, and blizzard usage. I don't talk about primary fire and secondary fire. So primary fire is your freeze, but that doesn't freeze. It has a lot of DPS. I highly recommend using it in close range 1v1s, as long as you don't have to immediately burst down the target, because technically hitting a headshot with icicle does a little bit more DPS. And I recommend using your icicles at mid to long range. It's pretty much just that simple. Also worth noting, the freeze does technically slow the target, so if you're able to get on top of a tank that the rest of your team can focus, sometimes the DPS from the freeze is useful, but also the slow itself is useful to help your team hit their shots. But besides that, we're going to talk about a lot of things in this MEI guide. She's a very tricky hero in Overwatch 2, so understanding the playstyle, which I talk about in depth here, is going to be very, very beneficial. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and enjoy the video. She's a close range hero, right?
Yeah.
But she also has a pretty nice snipe weapon too, right? So there's a little bit of nuance here. Like, you look at their composition, and I'm like, well, I can snipe Widowmaker, but it'd be better if I got to snipe her a little bit closer up, right? And then even far, right? It's easier to hit shots when she's closer. But then I look at like a Zarya, and I'm like, well, I can brawl and push a Zarya, but also I want to make sure that she doesn't have like double bubble, focus me down, force my ice block kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of nuance with MEI. So okay, let's take a look. So what does this wall do?
Forces Zarya's bubbles to be
Why?
out for his enemy cooldowns.
Why?
He doesn't use it, then she's gonna die to our team.
What does the wall do? Like just think about it philosophically. Like what do you see here?
Walled off Zarya.
Right, you wall off Zarya, and who's on the other side of the wall?
Kiriko.
Yeah. And who else is right? So we have two members of the enemy team who are not involved, and then let's see how long they're not involved. Let's start from when the wall actually pops off. So right here. So 317 at the top of our screen, 316, 315, and now the wall breaks. So you have like 2 seconds where two members of the enemy team are not involved, right? That's what wall does, right? Is you take members of the enemy team and you just completely remove them from the battlefield for a period of time, all right? And you also control the enemy tank, whoever's walling off, you control their position where they're not allowed to move as much as they'd like to. Now, you look at this and you go, well, that's a good wall, right? Why does this Zarya not take more damage? Surely she should take more damage than that, right? Any guesses why?
That's because my team was like all the way back, had no one to capitalize on that wall.
Right. So you stopped two members of the enemy team from following up. But the problem was two members of your team weren't there to follow up off of the wall.
Yep.
And then if you think about it from like MEI's perspective, like in Overwatch 2, tanks are scary, right? Tanks are really, really, really scary. So for you, it's like you can punish tanks really, really easily. However, you don't necessarily want to get in front of a Zarya's face, especially now that you can't actually freeze somebody. You're slow and DPS is good, but I would maybe be this aggressive on a Zarya when? When would you be this aggressive on the Zarya?
Whenever Zarya's being more aggressive, she's like my Ryan's here. I'm playing with my Ryan.
Sure. So help from your team. How about if the Zarya had no bubbles?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wall him off.
Right. Now it's like the Zarya has no bubbles, so she also, when she has no bubbles, she also is not likely to build very high charge because she's not getting charge actively. So then, even though my Ryan isn't here, if I can guarantee that at least some members of the enemy team aren't here, maybe this isn't so bad. But she had bubbles, and obviously you've got people in spawn, and so that's going to force your ice block. Now, what's the deal with ice block? Now, you guys get the kill, so nice wall. But what's the deal? Why is ice block so important? Why was this potentially so dangerous? What does ice block mean?
I have no cooldowns right there.
Okay, so what does that mean for you right now?
I'm super vulnerable. My Ryan's in my back line.
Right. The ice block is your get out of jail free card. Once the get out of jail free card is gone, you can go to jail. You can go to spawn. So how should you play right now? Usually.
I start backing right now.
Right. You need to play very, very cautious. Now, what else can you do with a wall? Remember the whole purpose, this is why I was asking you the wall and Zarya thing, because it's about understanding what the wall does so that you can also think of different ways to use it, right? So for example, if we're thinking about walling off and removing members of the enemy team, how do you use wall now?
What I can do is I can get position up. I can separate wall off that widow in the back line.
You can wall off the widow in the back line, yeah. So you can either enable yourself to a more aggressive position. You can wall off the widowmaker. Those are the big ones, right? You know, you could, I guess, wall off the Kiriko to prevent her from running away, but probably walling off the widow or walling yourself up make the most sense. What do you think is the best out of those two?
Walling off that widow.
Yeah. Now you're going to notice something, and you have, I'm sure, already noticed this with as many hours as you have on MEI, is that in Overwatch 2, just wall off tank and focus tank is just not as good anymore. The wall is squishier. There's one fewer tank. Fights are more dynamic and spread out. So you have to be a lot more creative with how you use your wall, even if it's just wall off somebody's LOS for a few seconds or to wall yourself up in the high ground, like you were saying. So this kind of situation right here, obviously you were shooting far. She's low. It's tough, right? But you got to be quick. Like, here's the other thing about MEI as well. Okay, so you think about MEI and like, okay, do I want to be playing with my tank all the time? So that's a good question for you. Do I want to be playing with my tank right now? What could you do with your tank?
Okay, looks like the tank is pretty far up.
Yeah.
So I might just need to be playing with them.
Right. Would this wall help you kill Ryan?
The enemy run?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're hesitating. You're hesitating. Why are you hesitating? Because I agree with your hesitation.
Because there's like Kiriko right there. I mean, it's not a very open space. I can kind of just climb over it.
Yeah, it's a pretty open space for Ryan to work around it. And then the other thing too is with walls, it's like, how many people are you walling if you wall the Reinhardt here?
Really just one.
One, and not even one, like a half of one, because she's just going to go right over it.
Their teammates on the height too.
Right, and I mean, look around it. Look at the widow. Look at the angles that she's taking. Look at the pharmacy. Look at the angle that she's taking. They don't care about your wall. They laugh at you, right? So what do you do?
Yeah.
So you see this. So if your wall doesn't get very good value from doing that, then that doesn't just change how you wall. That changes how you position as a whole, right? Because if I'm thinking I don't get a lot of value just walling Reinhardt on this map versus this composition because they're very spread out, because it's not very choke oriented, then how do you position? How do you play as MEI? And this is the key thing for MEI right here. What do you think?
I'd say I stay on that low ground, be annoying towards their Ryan, or maybe what I could do is just wall myself up and be annoying to the widow.
So you're talking about legitimately putting yourself either like just kind of playing here and playing like an angle, or even just going on the high ground and actually like looking to go after widow.
Yeah.
You see, this is the other strength of MEI that a lot of people miss, is what you described as you have some mobility options, right? But you know what else you have? You have 250 HP. You know what else you have? You have an ice block. You don't have a lot of like speed mobility, but you actually are pretty self-sustainable, right? You can actually kind of go on almost like a soldier and take angles by yourself, and you have the sustain to be able to do it by yourself. And if you could do it where on like it's a good high ground, good cover, maybe good wall opportunities, it's good value, right? It's good value.
Yep.
And see, if you're going to play MEI at a high level, you can't just pull out the MEI, wall the Ryan, push the Ryan anymore. That had mixed results in Overwatch 1 as it was, but in Overwatch 2, it doesn't work. You have to be so much more creative and dynamic. So right now, you're coming back from spawn. What's the play?
Shoot the widow, force like healers to respond to that widow.
Yep.
And then if I can, just keep my distance.
Sure.
And try to hit a Pharah or not.
Sure.
I can go to high ground and be annoying to the Pharah too.
Sure. You could shoot the widow. You could force her off. You could then shoot you could force her off, and then maybe you could even wall off the widowmaker, force her to drop. If she drops, you walk on top of her and freeze her. If she drops over here, okay, great. You force her off of high ground, and then you could shoot far, and then heck, you could even do your little bunny hops up here to try and walk on the widow. You know what I'm saying? Like just crazy crap. But this is what your hero could do. You know? All right, let's see. You know, it's actually funny when you get close to that hero. It's actually shocking how good you are at that hero, right? Now you force her to drop. Now what do you do? It's tricky, isn't
You
it?
notice my Ryan's getting pinned. I would
Now-
probably wall off the Ryan.
No, stop. You
Or
just said earlier how the wall doesn't get very much value, but why is walling off the Rhine here more value?
Because he's charging into our backline. That
Sure.
way I force the healer cooldowns.
Sure, sure. Here's another way to look at it. Because you controlled the angle, because you cleared the Widow, where's this Widow's sightline right now? Do you see it?
It's not there.
So now if you wall here, you're not just walling off the Kiriko anymore. Who are you also walling off now?
Widow.
The Widow. So now the wall on main gets more value because you cleared the off angle first. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
This is really good. And the funny thing is you don't even need to drop here. I would not drop here. I would do the wall that we talked about, and then what would you do? Got options, right? What are some of those options?
Probably try to poke the Ryan.
Yeah, poke the Rhine out, shoot the Rhine out, maybe shoot at the Pharah. If you want to go super, super cheeky, you could do what we talked about here. Do your little bunny hop up here. Just dare them to try and push you out, you know? You've got options. Now, let's talk about Blizzard. We've talked a lot about like positioning playstyle a little bit, but we haven't talked about Ultimate. What should you be doing with Blizzard?
Zoning. I could be baiting the cooldowns.
What's the value of zoning? Okay, let's put it that way.
Zoning to get us a position or...
Okay. Sure. So you're like, that position, you can run away from it, but that position is now my team's position, right? All right, so let's watch that. Let's watch this Ultimate.
This wasn't the greatest.
Does this position matter to your team?
No.
No. So for zoning, you get a big fat red X. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, what else can Blizzard be used for? Can you use it to force cooldowns?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Like if you only use TP for Blizzard, that's not good. I don't know why this Kiriko Suzu'd. There's no reason for her to Suzu when she could just TP away, right? Yeah. So an ultimate for a, what is it, a 6-second cooldown? You had to know that she had TP and Suzu so that you knew that she wasn't going to die anyway. We could wall, freeze the Kiriko, right? Then what's she going to do?
She's going to use her TP.
Right. And then what do you do?
And then I use my ult after I baited the TP.
Right. You think, okay, is that person now that the Kiriko is TP, can I use it now? Right? You know, maybe she TP's too far away and then we have to try it again, but you need to have a plan of like, if you want to use the ultimate to secure the kill, what do I need to do to set up the kill? And what I would say is a single kill, generally doesn't matter even who it's on, a single kill with Blizzard usually is good enough to win the fight. Usually. One kill is a big thing in Overwatch too. So for me here, it could be force Kiriko TP and focus her. It could be freeze the Mercy, force her GA or Valk or whatever, and then use it there. It could be throw Blizzard on the Reinhardt, and then what's Reinhardt going to do when you throw Blizzard on him?
Going to charge.
And so what are you going to do to stop that charge?
Wall.
Or you can even ice block if he pins at you, right? So yeah. Right? You've got options here. You've got options. I think you did this because you panicked a little bit, but I think if we know what we're looking for, we can kind of keep ourselves focused in these crazy fights, because one kill is good enough. Is this position here, is a wall on Ryan, pressure on main tank, going to be the highest return on investment for you right now? Or in the next 15, 20 seconds?
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It might be, but I wonder if there's going to be opportunities for you to push high ground here. Now, if the Widow is like, you know, here, probably can't. You know, probably she's too far away. Like he's going to ruin your day. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. Maybe let's see. Oh, wait. Now the wall gets value, right? Because now look at the Kiriko, look at the Mercy, look at the Ashe. You see that?
Yep.
So when you time your walls well, then you can see how many more people they split off. This Rhine should die. Now, what do you think about this point? So we spent a lot of time talking about taking angles and, you know, maybe not just only focusing on the Reinhardt because you couldn't always get good walls, you know, maybe, but where are we at in Blizzard World right now? You kind of see it? This is so much more open, no? Whereas you look at this here, if I see a Reinhardt walking through to, like, let's say here, do you think a wall would get good value?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the dynamics, right? This is where you have to decide what's going to get more value. I know what type of wall I'm going to see. Surely. This wall right here, maybe? What do you think?
Yep.
Yeah. Why? Because how many people get walled off by that?
1.
1. And how many people are walled off from seeing and shooting and doing damage?
4.
That's a big number, right? That's a big number. There it is. The only problem is the not quite my tempo, right? Not quite there. But you know what? That's just practice. You had the right idea, you just didn't execute it very well. Now the funny thing though is if you mess up this wall, that's okay. But where do you need to be shooting? What do you need to be thinking about right now? Not Rhine Shield, but what?
Well, I got 4 enemies looking at me.
Right. So this is the problem. Is a lot of MEIs is you press the wall, focus tank, press the wall, focus tank, but that's not always good. We saw that also in our second attack when we should have been focusing Kiriko Mercy immediately, right?